Now we find out if this is working or not. There's always pause before I hear the first one drop as to coin a phrase. Now we find out if this is working or not.
You can hear my voice. That means it is.
Before I hear the first one drop as to coin a phrase. Now we find out if this is working or not.
You can hear my voice. That means
I
it
heard
is.
myself twice. That's because I had the channel page. That's because I have my channel page open. Right. Hello, how are you all? Welcome, everyone. Welcome to this live stream. And already the numbers are building up. I hope I'm not upstaging. I hope I'm not upstaging my friends, the Crafty Nihilist. Are they still live? Why is it not? Bloody YouTube. They're not even like anticipating. Here we go. Oh no, they finished. That's good. Oh, good. They finished. I don't say that's good, but in fact, they've literally just finished now. No, I didn't mind. I mean, it's a shame we clash sometimes, but there we go. Gnomes in cars. Gnomes. If you what's he doing singing about gnomes in cars? You have to watch the Crafty Nihilist to find out. Anyway, hello to everyone. We have ET, the Z word agenda to start World War III. Well, I don't think it's the Z words, it's somebody else. But it is an agenda to start World War III, yes. Brett Riverboat. Would it be predictable for Israel to launch a huge strike on Monday, the first anniversary? I think they may well choose that date for an offensive. I think it would get a lot of public support, and I think Netanyahu needs that because he's lost a hell of a lot of it. Snow White, how do you do? Well, love, da, la, 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 la. How are you, Snow White? I hope those dwarfs are treating you well. By the way, Grumpy will love that pie you're making for him. We have here Sparkacus. Hello, Sparkacus. I like your clockwork orange avatar. Hi, Ben. Ben live, well overdue. Iran, Israel, indeed. Yeah, I thought I've got to come on to this at some point because, I was thinking of doing one last week sometime. I thought, well, let's just see what happens for a while. And we have DJ Beachu, hello, he's just been on the Crafty Knives live stream. Gnomes in cars. Pooty Poots may be supplying Iran with big boom devices. Yeah, I think this is that's just a major strategic error of his, if he is. But yeah, DJ B2. I'll try my best to be YouTube friendly. Yeah, we have to, unfortunately, while I'm doing YouTube. I mean, there's a couple where I couldn't be, so I did them as Alt Tech exclusives, like the one I did with Rin Michaelis and my ones about the old what's her name? That young lady who made that inverted pyramid thing. Hello, Bernie Tucker. How are you? David Splendid Isolation. Welcome. And Rianne on Raven. Hello. How are you? How do you do? Don't forget, Sunday night is Spanner night. And we have it. Israel Diego Rivera, genius to the real genius. How do you do? One of the best usernames I've ever seen. And Teddy Border Collie, how do you do? And Nihilist Lives Matter, how you doing? Mark and Liz have just finished. Oh, they just in time. Hello. And we've got Mary. Hello, Mary. Welcome. Papa Langeloy is known as Mary. Yeah. Nice teacher. Hello, Tina. How are you? Yeah, it's good, isn't it? Well, you've seen it. You have already seen it, haven't you? Hello, Johnny Fettler. How are you? Gnomes in cars. We've got gnomes in cars. Yeah. Hello, David Schultz. How are you? Hope everything's going on in Maine. Okay, we're going on all right in Maine. Happy Hatchy. Me and the dogs. Cool. Hello, me and the dogs. How you doing, guys? And David, don't forget Sunday night is Spanner night. Hello, Nihilist Lives Matter. Can't wait to send my tax pounds to defend the only ethnic state allowed. Hooray. Yeah, I think that is on the cards, unfortunately. Hugo Rune, greetings. Smoke 'em if you got 'em. And I know you've got 'em. Hello, Neil. How do you do? You look a bit paled out in contrast. You seem a bit stripped back. Have a great discussion. Yeah, I am a bit stripped back. I have not achieved quality cellulite this month because of my detox, but it won't last forever. I'll soon be the corpulent compadre you've always known and loved. As soon as my detox is over. DJ, my cat has annexed my bed again today. All right, is annex a euphemism for weeing on it or something? Sunday night is Spanner night. Yes, don't forget, guys, tune into the Gas Spanner, 8 p.m. tomorrow night on Hapanwo Radio. She's the furrer. Oh, yeah. Yeah, we're in a pretty awful situation at the moment, ladies and gents. And I'm not. Firstly, there's no notice comments, so I'm not going to go to the notice comments because there are none. 3 spliffs in my tin. Good on you, Hugo. That'll last you, what, 5 minutes? That'll see you the first 5 minutes. Oh, she sleeps in the middle of the bed. Oh, I see what you mean by annex. I see, right. So she's like, she's come over and said, oh, you get to one side or the other, but you're not having the middle. All right. Yeah, as we've just heard from Brett Riverboat, Monday is the first anniversary of the October the 7th massacre. If you remember, I did a live stream at the time it happened, and there's a link in the show in the description box to that particular video if you've not seen it. A lot's happened in the previous year. I mean, it was one of the grimmest live streams I've ever done about one of the most horrible things that have happened in recent years, and there's still about 100 hostages being held in Gaza, and what they'll be like after just 12 months of that, I don't know. I mean, we know from the ones that have been rescued, they've been subjected to physical, to psychological, to sexual abuse. We know that they've been starved. Some of them weighed 5 stone when they were pulled out of the tunnels. I got to realize that I don't think you ever really get over something like that. There's they're going to need psychotherapy, major psychotherapy, as well as physical healing. They'll have, it's the mental healing that's going to be that's the most difficult thing to heal. You can fix bumps and bruises, but the wounds in here are far harder to cure. Snow White will be coming on to that, don't worry. I've heard the story, like when the Burma Railway was liberated in 1945. Oh, it's the Crafty Nihilists. In cars! Gnomes in cars! Gnomes in cars! Yes. Tina Silver, is Ken Dodd related to Diddy? Oh. Yes, so we're going to be coming on to that, Diego Vera. Yeah, we are going to be mentioning this point because it's very important, this, because I've even got a clip to play about this. When the Burma Railway was liberated in 1945, mostly British prisoners of war were it was actually Americans who actually this is after the Japanese surrender. You've probably seen films like The Bridge on the River Kwai, etc. They refused to leave their cells. The Brits who were liberated, they wouldn't leave their cells. They refused to stay in. They insisted on staying in their cells, in their prison cells. You think, why? You think they'd be delighted. You think, yippee, we've been saved. This hell on earth is over for us now. But they couldn't. They couldn't leave their cells because they couldn't actually remember the life they had lived before they'd entered this hell on earth. And we know how cruel the Japanese prison staff were, the prison guards were, the soldiers who ran the prison camps and the slave labor. We know how cruel they were to their prisoners of war. And these men wouldn't leave the cell, not in spite of the fact they've been treated so badly and that ordeal was now finally over, but because of it. It's Stockholm syndrome. It's a horrible thing, and those rescued Israeli hostages are going to need to be treated for that. It's the most horrible thing in the world. There's no justification for it. I can't deal with people who say, "Yeah, it was a horrible thing, but," and then they add a whole load more. I can't deal with people like that. It was simply a horrible thing, and there's no buts. That's the whole thing. It simply was a horrible thing. But now it's just, as it turns out, it could lead to something far worse. And indeed, for many people, it has. I mean, for the people in Gaza, for example, there was 41,000 have been killed. Now, I know that people like Douglas Murray, apologists for the Israelis. Not him, many others, Charlie Veach and many others saying, yes, but it's different because they're not deliberately targeting these people. It's not a sadistic murder they're committing. These people are accidentally killed as a result of, firstly, because the war is happening in such a tightly controlled space, and secondly, because Hamas are using them as human shields. Now, I know some people dispute that as well. in a sense, it's if your child is buried under a pile of rubble, for me, it wouldn't make a lot of difference. All I know is someone's dropped a bomb, and they're killed, and they have been killed. It wouldn't make a lot of difference for me. Yeah, and I've seen people crying in the streets of Gaza and places like that, and Rafah, and where a huge amount of ordnance has been dropped from the sky. And as Grafty Nihilist said, look, my son's girlfriend has lost over 30 family members in Palestine. It is it's just part, and I don't think anyone of Palestinian heritage has not lost somebody. And if someone you love dies, does it matter how it happened? And I'm not sure. I don't think I believe Murray when I hear that it's all just indiscriminate collateral damage. I think there is. You see, the deliberate targeting of innocent people. I won't use the word civilian because it's a stupid word. I mean, for me, it means someone who's not a hospital porter. The deliberate targeting of innocent people is a strategy of war, and it always has been. And of course, the Israeli Defense Force is saying they don't do it. The Americans said they didn't do it in Fallujah and other places and they say, oh, we don't do that sort of thing. It's done deliberately. So I mean, this could be an exception. But I'm not sure it is. I mean, I'm not there. I don't know. But David said Hamas used and abused the Palestinians as human shields. They do indeed. They do indeed, and that no doubt is a part of that. And I'm sure some of it is collateral damage, David. But I'm not convinced by the people who say it's all collateral damage. I'm not convinced by that at all. Now, Tina says here something very interesting. It's part of a blood sacrifice ritual we are living through. Yeah, I think on one level that's exactly what it is. And in fact, it's in. You see, I don't think it is coincidental this is happening in the Holy Land. I don't think it's not called the Holy Land for no reason. And it's not a coincidence that so much violence has taken place in that region, dating right back to the Roman Empire. And indeed, before that, with the Israelites and the Canaanites and things like that. David, I'm not going to show your comment there. I know those videos exist, and I wouldn't watch. I know they're on Telegram, and I wouldn't watch them. As a hospital porter, I've had to deal with it. I've had to deal with not the actual combat, but I've dealt with the results of combat, and I don't want to see that. I've dealt with the results of murder, and it's beyond horrific, and I don't want to watch those things. I know that Douglas Murray says and of course Murray said Murray is trying to cobble together a case for war. He's a neocon, part of the Henry Jackson Society. I honestly don't think Douglas Murray. For Douglas Murray, this is just a strategy. Having studied him for years and years and years, I just think he's basically a posh Tommy Robinson. He thinks that he has a very dark vision of the world, which is in a way it's like mine, because he believes there is a malevolent force out there that's trying to take over and control the world and turn it into something new, a new world order. But for him, just like with Tommy Robinson, it is Islam. That is, Islam is just this thing that's trying to take over the world. It's a horrible thing, and we shouldn't have it around. It shouldn't exist, and things like that. I don't agree with that. Islam is a religion. It has its moderate and radical factions. It has its Gnostic factions like the Sufis. The radical element of Islam has been promoted, and it has been deliberately encouraged, indeed engineered, by the CIA, by Mossad, by MI6, for ever since really the end of World War II. Hello, Midget Gems. Welcome. How are you? We lost connection on Facebook. Oh, well, we'll get back in touch. Where are we now? Let's have a look. Yeah, and Mary, the Henry Jackson Society. I don't have time to go into the details of the Henry Jackson Society, but it is basically it goes back to like the post 9/11 era, when there were huge of. All right, Crafty says here, Hey, Bun, love you loads, but I'm going to bail. This is too close to home. I had to watch my son's girlfriend in pieces due to these Israeli psychopaths. See you Thursday. Fair enough, Crafty. Yeah, it's too personal for you, and I don't blame you. I don't blame you, and I'll see you on Thursday. Yeah. I don't blame you. In the post 9/11 world, there was this attempt to create the project for the New American Centuries world. And they turned against the very forces they had engineered during the Cold War. That is the radical Islamists that they'd created over the whole of the Middle East and the Muslim world. The basically Bin Laden in Afghanistan, things like they've created all that. And exactly, nihilist lives matter. There you go. Promoted to fight the Russian occupation of Afghanistan. In fact, it was promoted all over the Muslim world to act as a buffer to the expansion of Soviet communism. And now that very strategy is now their very creation has now turned against them like Frankenstein's monster, and now they have to create a new Frankenstein's monster to address that, which was the PNAC, the Strategies, Forces, and Resources document, and the engineered false flag terrorist attacks of 9/11, 7/7, the Madrid bombing, etc. Yeah. So this is the awful situation we're in, and as Tina said, it's not a coincidence this is happening in the Holy Land, because it is a chakra point of the earth. So the more violence you can do there, the better. This violence goes right back to, well, it begins with the idea of the promised land and the slaughter of the Canaanites, etc., and through the Roman Empire and this incredibly dramatic world in which Jesus was born into. I don't know if you've read this. That's a good book if you've not read it. Helen Dale, Kingdom of the Wicked. Helen Dale, who does these programs with Sargon. It's a sort of alternate. It's very, very alternative and different. It's a story about Jesus. Rihanna says Michael says ethno-nationalism won't save us from feminists. It won't, no. Oh, nice meta. So I can't look at. There's too many comments coming into show. Not to be Nicky, but Islamism is not the CIA's monster. Just the one they fed. Correct. Well, there's always been these kinds of people in the world, in the Muslim world. Yeah, there's always been the Salafists and the Wahhabists have always existed. It's just they've been promoted. They say have put their agents in there. They've armed them. They funded them. They've created organisations like the Muslim Council of Britain and things like that, and various quangos across the world, across the Western world, to bring them in. That's how they're using them. Yeah. But we have. Let's go to my notes here. It is, of course, the anniversary of the 7th, and this is kind of. DJ, you watch the Lotus Eaters too. I love the Lotus Eaters. Yeah, I do. That's how I found out about Helen Dale. That's when I first, and I realized it's a book a bit like mine, actually. It's like the Roswell. If you read it, you'll see the similarities between that and the Roswell trilogy. This is my. I shouldn't show that book without showing mine. Available at all good bookshops. Price £10. This is so divisive. I mean, this is so divisive. As I said before, this is not like other regional ethnic conflicts. I mean, there were regional and local ethnic conflicts going on all over the world. There's the struggle between the West Papuans and the Idrians in New Guinea. I mean, what you'll find is, though, that no one will pin you up against a wall, point at you with your finger and say, whose side are you on then? Are you Team West Papua? Are you with the Idrians? The Idrian scum, or it's the other way around, Are you with the glories of the Idrians and against the West Papuan scum and things like that? No one ever does that. No one ever does that with any of the ethnic conflicts in Sudan, in the Spratly Islands, in East Timor, in various parts of Africa, in South America. No one ever does that. And Eastern Europe, well, Eastern Europe's another thing, but yeah. No one ever does that. With this, they do. It's like being in It's like being in Merseyside when Liverpool and Everton are in the FA Cup final. Whose side are you on? You must pick a side. You must pick a side. Yeah, it's this is seen as more than just a regional ethnic conflict. It's been described as, I mean, there was that lady that, what's the name of the lady that, it's Michelle somebody. Let's have a look. She put it very well. I don't remember. I can't. Maybe I'll find an exact quote of her. The exact quote that he. Let's see. Oh, I hate it when Michal. I think it's the Hebrew or Yiddish version of Michel. Michal Kotler Wunsch, her name is Michal Kotler Wunsch. I can't remember the exact quote, but she says, "This is not just this is about the whole world. This is a clash of civilizations." She said, "This is about good versus evil across the entire world. The ultimate force of good. Israel is at the forefront of all the forces, everything that's good in the world. Civilized values, democracy. Israel is at the forefront of that, and it's tackling the principal force of barbarism and nihilism and monstrosity and violence in the world." I mean, it's summed up by this. This is I do follow Tommy Robinson, and this is let's have a look at this meme. I'll just show you this meme here. Hello, Winzo Burdett. How are you? How would you do? I think it's kind of summed up by this. It's not Tommy Robinson. I don't know if he created or shared this, but there we go. He said this is basically how he saw. I mean, is there a caption here? He said, "This is the world right now," and we have here some silly student sipping latte, going, "Who's the Free Palestine protester?" And there's all these monsters, these evil, like dark-eyed, scruffy-bearded, dirty, dishevelled, gun-toting Islamists charging at the West, and there's this brave Israeli soldier holding them back to protect this person who hates them. That is essentially how this is how Douglas Murray sees it as well. Now, I don't agree with that, by the way. Before anyone else, I don't agree with that at all. I don't think it's that is the case at all. It's far more complicated than that. This is what's happening right now is that, as I said, these forces of barbarism, as we've just explained, are essentially a product of mind control. They're essentially a product of mind control. And this is of course Tommy Robinson and Douglas Murray and the Islam is the only problem degrade. I don't know what to call them. Islam is the world's only problem. I mean, I don't know if there's a word I can use for people like that, but they wouldn't agree with this. But there's no reason specifically why Muslims should be like that. There's no reason at all. Muslims could be very different, and many of them are. And I don't think it's a coincidence that much of the Middle East it has the world's richest oil reserves. Of course, that we can't ignore that fact either. DJ, yeah, most Muslims I've worked with have been pretty civilized. Many of them are my brother porters, hospital porters, pride and dignity. Yeah, it's essentially the dominant religion, I think, of the hospital portering service. Most of them are pretty civilized. There's some nasty ones as well, but I've known nasty people of all races and religions, to be honest. My grandfather is one of the most horrible people I've ever known in my life. Is my grandfather, and he was a very devout Roman Catholic, a white man. He was a white male who was a Roman Catholic, very devout, and he's one of the most horrible people I've ever known. So yeah, there is no reason why. How are we now? There we go. There's no reason why. When I say something like this, I'm not favouring one race or religion over another. What's annoying? I mean, I get this sometimes from people. is, and it's not happened to me personally because I'm not really partisan in this position. My loyalties lie with all the innocent people who've been caught up in this. All of it. All the innocent people on both sides who've been caught up in this. My loyalty and sympathies lies with them. And I'm not on one side or the other. I don't believe that one side is all, one side is all good and the other side is all bad. One side is the imperialist aggressor and the other side are the sweet innocent victims. I don't believe that at all. Right. So, is it true that Saudi Arabia has declared neutrality? Oh, right. I see. Because they've always been one of the Israel's allies. But David says Israel is not an oil-producing nation. No, it's not. But it serves a purpose within the geopolitical strategy of the Middle East. It does. It serves that purpose. Yeah. Diego Rivera says, "Come on, Iran." Well, I mean, Diego, why do you think are Iran sort of like good guys in this? What have they done? What sort of regime do they have in their own country? How have they treated their neighbours? How about they've fired missiles at people, they've attacked ships, they've been propping up foreign regimes that have killed thousands. So no, I say don't come on Iran. I'm not, as I say, I'm not pro-Israel either, but I don't say come on Iran. This is annoying. What's annoying is a lot of people. This hasn't happened to me, but it's happened to other people. Firstly, people get accused of sitting on the fence. Say, well, you must pick a side, like I've just explained. As I said, it's only this. This is the only conflict that everyone in the world is expected to pick a side about. None of the others. That's Papua, Idria. Who cares about them? You can think what you like about them. It's not my battle. It's none of my business, and that's fair enough. It's nothing to do with you. You live on the other side of the world, mate. Why should you get involved? With this one, it's different. Which side are you on? Which side are you on? And the problem is when people do express and you see this if you watch Charlie Veach's videos and many other people's. And even some of the also some of the pro-Palestinians as well. The moment someone does that and they're in front of someone they disagree with, what happens next? What's the next thing someone says? After you've chastised them for sitting on the fence and they've got off the fence, what's the next thing these people say? Well, what would you know about it? You're not qualified to comment because of A, B, and C. So you can't win. You can't win. You cannot win. So the latest developments, I'll go into the bit of the history, but I want to look at the latest developments. But again, bear in mind that this is portrayed by... I did mention Michelle Kotler once in my talk with Rin, which is only on Alt Tech. Let's have a look at the big black cock, shall we? What's the latest there? All right. Here we go. This is the live stream. IDF says it's killed 440 Hezbollah fighters as UN warns of refugee crisis. Israeli military says it's killed 440 Hezbollah fighters since the start of the ground invasion in Lebanon. Hezbollah's not commented. More Israeli airstrikes hit Beirut after the Israeli military warned people in a southern suburb to evacuate. Well, I hope that's true. I'm not convinced by that, because they say just because the big black cock says so, but still. Hezbollah fires dozens of rockets into northern Israel. An airbase near Haifa was one of the targets. 2 senior Hamas figures were killed in northern Lebanon. Watch the BBC report in the midst of rocket fire with Israel. It's this.
We've just made our way up to the top of a building that was hit by a Hezbollah rocket earlier. No casualties here, but you can see the damage done.
Yeah.
This is a community that hasn't really been hit by rockets before.
Israel says the near daily rocket fire into the north of the country is the reason why it's now...
He's not wearing his flak jacket and helmet like Douglas Murray. Oh, why is that?
...invaded Lebanon. The aim is to push back Hezbollah so that the displaced Israeli families living near the border can return. That is easier said than done. And so far, Hezbollah has responded by firing deeper into Israel, including into communities like this one. We were just filming on top of the roof there, and as you can hear, there's another siren. We're coming through. There's another alert, and so we're trying to take some safety, get some shelter.
Does they have a bomb shelter in there? They do actually. I know someone. I know a young lady who lives in a place in the Golden Heights, and her community is a kibbutz, and they have like a panic room in there, which is like a bunker where they all go there if they. It's like the air raid shelters we had in London in the Blitz, things like that. But you can see a bit of it behind me actually, because over my over this shoulder, and get a green screen, Ben. You can see that is the missiles coming in from Iran, and over this shoulder here, you can see this is the anti-missile system, the Iron Dome, which has actually taken down. It's actually taken down the majority of the Iranian and Hezbollah rockets and missiles that have been fired. The Hezbollah has much more simple weapons. Iran has more sophisticated weapons because it does have foreign aid. In the same way that Israel does, Iran is propped up by foreign powers. Is it? See, what's the thing about Russia, Iran? Let's have a look. Foreign aid. Iran's foreign aid. The EU has allocated 10.95 million euros to Iran for humanitarian assistance. All right. A welcome humanitarian deal between the US and Iran. Oh, really? So the Americans have been sending Iran money. I do wonder. This would be very interesting, isn't it? I see. It says here, crisis group. Welcome. I don't need to show you this, but just welcome a humanitarian deal between the US and Iran. So the EU and the US has been sending Iran money. The Biden administration has implemented a deal with Iran. They secured the freedom of 5 American hostages and agreed to unfreeze $6 billion worth of Iranian oil revenue, stuck for years in South Korean banks, so that Tehran can use it to purchase food and medicine. How does the Biden administration know that Iran is going to use it to purchase food and medicine? You know what? I think that Khomeini, whatever his name is, went up to Joe Biden and said, or went up to Kamala Harris, because she's the one who's in charge, obviously. I think he just went up to them and said, Mrs. Harris, I promise you, with my hand on my heart, cross my heart and hope to die, that this money that we're getting now from you, we will only spend on humanitarian aid. I mean, do you need some guarantee of that? Do we need to sign any agreements or any contracts to do we need to? And Harris said, no, that's all right, Mr. Khomeini. We trust you. We'll give you this money, and we trust you just to spend it on humanitarian aid. I know, I can look into your eyes and I know you're honest, and I just know you're not going to purchase weapons with that. I just know it. I can feel it. Yeah, he says, I absolutely, Mrs. Harris, on behalf of the Iranian government, we promise we will not buy any weapons with it. Thank you for trusting me. Of course, the US administration is not that naive. Of course, they know very well that this money could easily be used to purchase $6 billion. With $6 billion, you could buy a couple of aircraft carriers. And of course, they must know that they are running the risk, if indeed it is a risk and it's not their plan, that they are, in a very, very crafty way, giving Iran foreign aid, and indeed giving them the ability to arm themselves. This is supposedly an ally of Israel. Why are they doing that? Why is the EU giving them 10.95 million euros? These are allies of Israel, apparently, but no. So why are they doing this? And as for this Iron Dome thing, the Iron Dome was American. It cost it was a gift essentially to Israel for $1.5 billion. But you know what? It's been very effective against those missiles. But if you think about it, I mean, this is not advice, by the way. This is not advice in terms of Iranian defense and offensive tactics. But this is kind of an ironic joke, obviously. But All Iran and Hezbollah had to do was just attach all the ordnance to paragliders and to build us bulldozers. That's all they had to do. Put them in a bulldozer and then drive the bulldozer towards Israel, and or put them on paragliders and let them bzzz and hum through the air, making lots of noise, and let them land in Israel. Because we know very well that the Iron Dome is incapable of responding to paragliders. It can take down a missile traveling at 700 knots through the air, breaking the sound barrier. But when a 40-knot paraglider sort of glides in, going like that, it seems to be completely helpless. Israel Diego Vera. All sides are controlled. Exactly. Serious question. What do the US, UK get out of supporting Israel? They get to fund one half of this war they're trying to engineer, which they would need to do, wouldn't they? They need to fund the other half. If they want a world war, they're going to have. To have a world war, you have to have two evenly matched sides, which is why, incidentally, between 1880 and 1890, guess which country received a huge amount of American foreign aid to develop? Guess what? I'll give you a clue. It begins with a J. Yes, indeed. And this could be why in 1928 a document came to light and was held up by a congressman in the US and said, "What the hell is this?" It was called Propaganda in the Next War. And the response was, "What next war?" This was in 1928. There was no plans for another war back then. It was just 10 years ago. We just come out with the worst war in human history. What do you mean propaganda in the next war? It does remind me a little bit of, these documents keep coming out from the WHO, what we will do in the next pandemic. Yeah, what next pandemic, Hello, Michael Snow. How are you? What's happened? We've just been through it, Michael Snow, but I'll give you another recap in a little while. So you've got to ask yourself the question, and indeed this congressman did, what next war are you talking about? And this document is very, very concerning because it talked about the long term, and Diego Vera mentions Albert Pike. Yes, the long-term global strategy for the United States from the mid-19th to the mid-20th century. And it mentioned that Japan had been reinforced to create a power center in the Far East for the purposes of dealing with the propaganda problem of creating a next war, creating warfare. And then, of course, Pearl Harbor happens. And funnily enough, there's so many parallels. As I explained in previous videos, I'm not going to repeat myself. There are so many parallels with Pearl Harbor on October the 7th last year. So many parallels. So many similarities. The threats in advance, the warning signs, the intelligence reports that were ignored. And then, worst of all, the military stand down. Prouty's Law. It's Prouty's Law. Look up General Leroy Fletcher Prouty. Who is responsible for a false flag? If you want to know who's responsible for a false flag attack where you suspect it's not what it seems to be, look at who has the power to withdraw the normal security at the crucial time. Yeah. So yes, in summary, there's so much light. This is a load of rubbish, this picture. It's a complete misunderstanding of the situation. So let's go back to my notes. Now, contrary, and this is something that came up in my talk with Rin Mikhailis. Contrary to popular belief, Benjamin Netanyahu is not a popular leader. Israelis have had enough of him. He's facing a huge amount of he's facing a huge amount of opposition. And now Listen Lives Matter. Yeah. It wasn't just the USAF. It was everything. It was NORAD. It was a lot. And DJ, yeah, it's a very low resolution. It's a low information zone, to quote Nick West, of what we're looking at there. Netanyahu is facing enormous opposition from Israelis. There's been protests every day against him, as Rin and I explained. The Israeli foreign minister just received a handful of wet sand thrown in his face by someone on a beach. She was then imprisoned for that, just for throwing wet sand at a guy. And I think maybe people like Efrat Henriksen and maybe, I mean, I know Efrat is the most outspoken about this, but surely she's not the only Israeli who suspects what I've just said about October the 7th. Surely she's not the only person who said, well, who benefited from October the 7th the most? Well, whoever wanted to start this war. Netanyahu has gained a lot of credibility, and indeed he has now the pretext to do a lot of the things he wanted to do, which he couldn't have done without October the 7th. Netanyahu is being pressured by Israeli people to end the war with a deal, to have a negotiated end to the war with Gaza. In other words, do something in exchange for the return of the hostages. And honestly, if I was, I mean, David's published. He's put a post that I'm not going to show, but it talks about the kind of ordeal we're talking about of people who are still held hostage, physical, psychological, sexual abuse. They've been deprived of sleep. They've had food withheld from them. They've been starved. They've been made thirsty by withdrawing water. And David, as I just explained at the beginning, what happened in 1945 when the Burma Railway was liberated? The British prisoners of war refused to leave their cells. That's how messed up they were mentally by what happened to them. You can heal broken bones. You can heal bruises. It's another matter fixing the damage done in here. If one of my loved ones was being held in Gaza, I mean, I would try and get them out myself. I don't care. I would try. Well, you can't do that, Ben. You're not Mossad or the IDF. I know, but I would find a way. I would try and find a way. In fact, I would probably try. I'd offer money. I'd offer a ransom to the Hamas. I would steal money and offer a ransom to Hamas to get them out. No court would convict me for that. No court would convict me. Oh, this is, hello, Dr. Sai, how are you? Oh, Dr. C, sorry, that's how you pronounce it, isn't it? The whole system is fucked. Here's just a glimpse. Hugh Edwards gets caught with kiddie porn and has 6 months probation. Someone else speaks their mind on Twitter and gets 2 years in prison. Oh, Dr. C, I could go on for hours about this. And they say there's no two-tier policing and there's no two-tier justice. How can they pretend that? DJ B2 says, what's this? October 7th. Funny how a lot of the people killed were killed by 30mm cannon from Apaches. But aren't those American? Are they Israeli or American? Does Israel have any of those? Is that true, DJ? Let us know if you've got a source for that, please. Hello, Modern Pict. How are you? How come you've come south of Hadrian's Wall? We built that specially to stop you. David, imagine how any other country would have done, let alone the USA, if a neighbouring country had intruded and done in 50,000, say in the US, or 15,000 in the UK. Well, David, that's kind of happened, doesn't it, with Mexico? It's kind of happened, doesn't it? This is why Trump wants to build the wall. I mean, I say 50,000. I mean, how many people have died from crime committed by immigrants in the United States? How many people have died as a result of them from the Mexican gangs and the people traffickers and people like that? How many people have died as a result? I wouldn't be surprised if it's more than 50,000 over the years. Hello, Pat Riot. Well, this is really worrying, Pat Riot, what you've just said and DJ's just said, because if that's true, it means that Hamas have got their hands on Apache gunships. This means that they have spent some of the foreign aid that they got. And don't forget, they got a lot of foreign aid from the West as well during the roadmap and the two-state period. And again, it was done apparently in good faith because we gave them money so that they could rebuild Gaza and the West Bank. They wrote me a little letter saying, we promise we won't spend it on weapons to attack Israel with. We promise. And of course, we believed them, didn't we? It's not our fault that they spent their money on those things. Don't blame us. We had no idea they were going to buy weapons for it. Maybe they did. Maybe they bought American weapons. Maybe they brought them off Afghanistan because after the rout of Kabul, America left behind half its bloody hardware, didn't it? oh God, this is even worse here. Israeli pilots. So this is a false flag, essentially. So this is, at least partly, this is actually a false flag by Mossad. It wouldn't be the first time that Mossad has actually attacked its own people for the purpose of geopolitical, yeah. Sorry, Rian, who has said Hamas have Apache gunships? They don't. No, it's in one of the comments. It's a comment that DJ B2 and Pat Riot posted here, Rhiannon. I don't know. I mean, I don't know if they have or not. No, this is just what they've claimed. They say Jerusalem Times has said so. If it may not be true. Hello, King of Judah. How are you? Iranian missiles can travel in space and change its course mid-flight. American and Israeli government don't have radars that can detect them off-grid, which makes them hard to stop. Yeah, King of Judah, Iran has some very sophisticated hardware. It's not like the homemade things that Hamas have been using, the homemade unguided missiles. These are like sophisticated weapons. Again, where do they get them? I mean, they're the most effective thing since paragliders and bulldozers. Yeah. So where was I with my notes? Yeah. Now, I'm just going to play you something. Let me just check these things here. I've already shown you one of these things. All right, let me just play you something. You should be able to hear it because I've actually boosted the volume slightly because the volume was a bit low. This is Douglas Murray in conversation with Barry Weiss. Barry Weiss is another of Sam Harris's friends. A lady who she's like she's very pro-Israel like he is. And to give you a bit of background, I won't play too much of this because there's a long background leading up to this. But basically, they're asking, what would it take for Western people to, quote unquote, wake up and start supporting Israel more? All right. Just listen to what they say. All right. No, I don't like Douglas Murray either, Modern Pick. I think he's dishonest, and I think he's just got this obsession with what he calls Islam. Come on, open it.
Hamas.
Okay, right. I don't like this guy either, but it's very interesting listening to what he says here, and I think it gives us a clue what might happen in the future.
Hamas, Hezbollah, the regime in Tehran. This is no overstatement for once, wishes to finish the work of Adolf Hitler in our time.
But I think one of the alarming lessons of the past decade, or at least one lesson I'm learning, I'm sure you knew it years before me, is I always used to comfort myself in a certain sense by saying, oh, people grow out of it. People grow out of it. And I don't feel that way anymore. I don't see people just naturally growing out of something that is being reinforced by so many of the institutions in their lives, by the people they admire, not just by their professors, but by many people in the culture who let these lies go unchallenged. Well, you said earlier that we're kind of drunk on peace, or the way a lot of other people have said it is we're a decadent society. Like, is it going to take something catastrophic
It will take a
happening
mass
to us?
casualty terror attack. Probably, sadly.
It would take a mass casualty terrorist attack. It would take a mass casualty terrorist attack to essentially change public opinion into one in which they would be amenable to massive foreign intervention into the Middle East on a similar scale or greater to the one that took place after 9/11. Do you think Douglas Murray is the only person in the world who's thought of that? Hello, Goonlove. How are you doing? Murray talks a lot of sense. Now, Murray, in my view, he talks complete bollocks, and he's a spiteful little bitch queen with an issue. I don't like him. He's got an unpleasant personality as well as being wrong about most. No. To be fair, his takedown of the wokists is brilliant. It's to fair. It is. When he takes on like the wokies, he's brilliant. He's brilliant. He's so scathing but he's got this weird obsession with Israel, and it's actually not. It's actually not with Israel. It's just a convenient way of like furthering his bigger goals and his bigger ideas. But he said that it would take a mass casualty terrorist event to change public opinion. And he's not the only one who will have thought of that. So, and DJ B2 sounds like the PNACA document. Yes. Strategies, forces, and resources for a new American century. Let me just find you what I wrote about it years ago. Here we go. I'm just going to show you what I wrote about it years ago, because this feels almost prophetic. Here we go. Near the start, Avery. Yeah, that's about loose change. Rebuilding America's defense strategies, forces, and resources for a new century by the Project for the New American Century. It relates to part of a new Pearl Harbor. The full phrase is, further, the process of transformation, even if it brings revolutionary change, is likely to be a long one absent some catastrophic and catalyzing event like a new Pearl Harbor. New Pearl Harbor. So I think we should. It's scary to think about this, but I think we should we should be prepared and not be surprised. And it may well happen in the next month, because you only got 1 month, and then Trump's back, hopefully. Because once Trump's back, the whole thing's going to change. Everything will change. But sometime between now and the 5th of November, don't be surprised. And I hope it won't happen. I hope to God it won't happen. If there is some, what Douglas Murray called, and what that document called, written over 20, 25 years ago, a new Pearl Harbor. Because right now, public opinion is against this. No, people remember the last time America dropped everything and went in with all its allies into the Middle East to try and change that region. All right, Rhiannon says, do you watch John Mearsheimer? He's a wise man. I've heard of him, Rhiannon, but I haven't. Maybe I haven't not seen that. No, I mean he's not with that Duran, is he? He's not with the Duran. I don't know. And of course, this is why I'm doing my detox. And the detox, as I've explained before, is a spell. It's occult. It's an affirmation. John Fused. Do you think this could escalate to World War III? I think that's the plan. That's what they want. Oh, Tony Gosling mentioned Mearsheimer in his latest podcast. All right. I haven't listened to that yet, Ariana, but if you send us a link, I'll be happy to look at it. You might have done so, actually. Just have a check. I've got my phone on silent, of course, but somebody might have sent me. So check my messages. No message. No worries. Send it me anywhere. Send it me on Twitter if you want. Right. John Mearsheimer. Let's just have a look at him. Oh, Sparkacus says Trumpstein will not make it. There will be a third attempt on him and a third time lucky. I bloody hope Sparkacus. I wouldn't be surprised if someone else they try it again. I mean, I always think that as I said on Third Rail Radio, and what I was listening to that guy Mencius Mulbug talking to Edward Dutton, and he said that he believes that Trump hasn't got a chance because the bad guys, the manipulators, have learned the lesson from 2016 and 2020, and they're gonna come back even harder this time with the lessons they learned, and that's true. But so will the good guys. So I do hope now that there are good people in control, in power at the same time, who are behind Trump, and I believe that I think that we know they exist, because if they hadn't, Trump would have died years ago. You like my glasses? Thanks, Goonlove. Trump would have died years ago if that wasn't the case. So I do hope they're there. I mean, I think that Trump must have private security now, and he must be taking more. He must be taking more steps, because in the space of a month, 2 people tried to kill him. They both failed. But you're right, Sparkacus. He's not a cat, even despite the meme, the funny meme I shared. 9 lives, bitches. there's always this. There's always the possibility that someone could try again. Yeah. Mulbug, I mean, Mulbug's a bit annoying actually, because he was talking to Dutton and he said that he quoted the famous Nietzsche parable, the famous Nietzsche saying, you know, optimism is cowardice. And I just thought that's such a backslapper thing to say. That's exactly what Andrew Johnson would say, or Richard D. Hall. Optimism is cowardice. And I know so many people believe this because that's what the backslappers are like. They sit in a circle, basically wanking each other off over who's the biggest pessimist. Because the biggest pessimist is like the ultimate Chad. I mean, the ultimate Uber Chad is a defeatist. We're all doomed and only I can face it. So the optimism is cowardice thing really annoys me, because if something happens which gives us reason to be hopeful and reason for optimism, no one will go it, because no, I'm not going to go for that. No. So we don't make any progress because no one will take these opportunities, because no one wants to be the big cuck. Sorry, I'm going off topic there. John Mearsheimer, let's have a look. I know I do trust your recommendations. American political scientist, right? It's this guy. Oh, he looks familiar. I've seen him before. Yeah, I've seen him somewhere. Look for a video if you're in doubt. Why is Ukraine the West's fault? Yeah, exactly. That sounds good. Oh, John Mearsheimer. Oh, he's on with Piers Morgan. Oh, wicked. I've got to watch it. I won't watch it.
That is just not a serious argument. The existential threat to Israel is not a serious argument. It is not a serious argument. This is not a serious argument.
I'm about to give you an answer.
Explain,
I can see why Israel feel the way they do.
How Hezbollah or Iran or Hamas is an existential threat to Israel. Explain to me. They're Tweedledee and Tweedledum. It's Ukraine and...
Well, all right, well, that's interesting. I mean, I think you could... I mean, obviously, I haven't heard that. Obviously, someone who will... obviously, if somebody will go into a country and kidnap people and kill them, then they're an existential threat. However, the question is, would Hamas and Hezbollah have the ability to threaten Israel and do so much terrible damage to Israel and her people the way they have without the foreign aid that they've received? You know, as I said, put me in charge of this business. I'd cut all foreign aid to all the countries in that region, Israel and all the others. And you know what? I bet you within 2 weeks, someone will come forward and say, maybe we should try this two-state solution thing again, because if we do that, I think it might work after all. This idea just popped into my head. I bet you that would happen. And what's this one? Is this... DJ, is this the one where he calls Piers a total wanker? Probably, maybe, because everyone calls Piers a total wanker, because he is. That's exactly what he is, and most people call him that. But Americans don't know what the word wanker means, so probably not. They probably called him something else. Oh, the Alan says he's a total gent. All right. Hello, Welsh Ripper. How you doing? Hello, Pie Pounder. How you doing? What's your Rumble channel name, please? The same as this one, Ben the J.R. Porter. So what is that? And let's have a look. Right. So one more thing, nuclear weapons. I think if nuclear weapons were used in this conflict, it would be horrific, whichever side uses them. And Iran has nukes and Israel has nukes. Not many, but they do have them. Do you remember Mordecai Vanunu, the guy? I think he died in jail, didn't he? Or is he still in jail now? The Israeli scientist who blew the whistle on Israel's nuclear weapons program. Oh, David says here, Israel has offered the two-state solution several times, but the Palestinians has refused it because they only want Israel not to exist. Well, personally, David, I think that Israel may have appeared to offer to want peace, but then I think the administration they have in Israel at the moment wants no peace at all. Do you really think does Netanyahu strike you as somebody who wants peace? Nothing as it seems. You American, we know what wanker means. There's a scene in The Simpsons where Marge and Homer are talking, and he says, "Oh, what's on TV tonight, Marge?" And Marge says, "It's a British sitcom, Homer." And he goes, "Whoa, maybe tonight I'll find out what wanker means." That's all. That's unfortunately was clipped out. Unfortunately, release the sausage. Oh, yeah, that's got to be the biggest. I mean, when you think how often I trip over my words and say the wrong thing. But the thing is, a lot more people like me than like Keir Starmer. That's the thing. All right, so that's the end of my last comment. The last part of my notes is: are we going to see nuclear weapons used in this war? As it's escalating, as it is escalating, are we going to see nuclear weapons used in this war? That's the question. I hope not. I really do, because whichever side uses it, I think it will obviously lead to a retaliation with weapons of mass destruction, and they're called weapons of mass destruction for a reason. What's Maya Tusi doing at the moment? Hang on. Oh, I was watching this earlier. This is a typical of Piers Morgan. He staged an argument. This guy here he's a former Hamas. He's the son of Hamas, who's now works for Mossad, and this guy is a Palestinian journalist. And they're like really having. I think Piers just likes the controversy. He just likes the controversy. Where's Maya? Here we go. What's Maya doing? Let's have a look. There we are. Hezbollah. Maya. I mean, Maya is like. I think he's a nicer person. He's more genuine than Douglas Murray, and I think he really believes he's doing what's good. I believe he thinks he's doing what's good, but he's extremely pro-Israel. Hezbollah deputy leader resigns. Hezbollah leader reported dead. Israel targets Hezbollah's new leader. I've been watching some of these. Where is Saad Git Khan after the acid attack? Yeah. Labour donor Lord Ali rigged the Iraqi election. Well, are you surprised? Israel suffer losses. Starmer's links to communist-backed Mauritius. Oh, right. That shouldn't be surprising. Starmer donor investigated. That donor will be in the House of Lords before you know it. He looks like, ooh. Maya is he's an Iranian refugee, basically. He's from when he was a child, he and his family had to leave Iran because of the Islamist revolution. So I think maybe this has skewed the way he sees the world. He knows his own country, and he knows his own country's suffering. But maybe this has led him. When you get too involved just with something like that, you can't see the wood for the trees. This is why I, as an expatriate Welshman, I can see Wales in a way that other people who live there can't. And Rhiannon being an exception because she's also very wise in that respect. But a lot of people in Wales can't see the wood for the trees. This is why so many of them believe in this. They go along with the Senedd and these horrible, stupid things that are going on in Wales right now. Sparkicus says, have you got any conventions or anything planned coming up? Yes. In March, I'm speaking at the Birmingham UFO group. That I don't know what date in March. I don't know exactly when. I haven't got through all the details yet. But also in a couple of weeks, I'm in what day is it? I'm going in 2 weeks' time. I'm going to another conference, and I'm not going to tell you what it is because it's a very special and very unusual conference. So I'm going to leave that as I'm going to leave that as a surprise for you. But I'm going to when you find out which conference I'm going to, your jaws will drop. You won't believe it when you see the video I do it when I come back. You're going to be really shocked, I tell you, and you're going to be really surprised. And I think you'll be delighted as well. Diego Rivera, Iranian regime put into power by the West. Yeah, it goes back actually to 1952 when Mohammad Mossadegh, the democratically elected liberal, capitalist, libertarian president of Iran, was ousted by an MI6 coup, replaced by the Shah, who was a monster. He was a vicious monster, replaced by Ayatollah Khomeini, who was an equally vicious monster. Rhiannon Raven. It's not a swingers conference, is it? How did you know? No, I'm kidding. Yeah. And again, yeah, ISIS created by Israel. Yeah, this is what Operation Ajax. Yes, Ajax, exactly. And the CIA coup the Shah. It wouldn't surprise me if the CIA was behind Khomeini. Yeah. I shared this meme a while ago. Now this is a very. I'm very proud of this meme if I can find it. I don't know if I can actually find it, but I'll try. It should be in last year's pictures because I know this may take a while to find it, but it's such a good meme. I want to show it to you because it just says it. It says it all. It really does. It just says it all. You talk amongst yourselves when I'm messing with this. But yeah, that's a conference. I think you will like it. I think you'll find it amusing and interesting. It's not swingers. I wish it was, honestly. No, I'm only kidding. I'm not a swinger. I'm not a swinger. I am a monogamist. Is that the word? A monogamist. Is that I have like one. I've never had more than one partner at the same time. I've never like been unfaithful to anyone. I mean, if I'm with somebody, you know, I stick with that person. Like with my partner Sue Stain, I was with her for 8 years, and I never cheated on her. I had some opportunities, I'll tell you, but I didn't take them up because I felt loyal. I felt loyalty to her. Maybe I can find it with search. Hang on. It's annoying when I can't find what I'm looking for. No, okay. That's not okay. It's this annoying when I can't find what I'm looking for. It's a very good meme. No, I mean I never cheated on her, and I mean I wouldn't. I've never tried to. If I'm in a relationship with someone, I've never tried it on with someone else. And if I know someone is in a relationship, I won't try it on with them. Even if I really fancy the pants off them, I won't try it on with them if they've got a partner. I'm a bit old-fashioned, you know. I'm a bit of a traditionalist. And swinging is very. Oh no, I mean, I couldn't go on a date with a swinger. I mean, I think you know, it's like you might as well just like date someone who's. I can't find this bloody meme. I mean, there was a really hilarious news story today about a woman who, her husband, she had a loving husband, what she thought was a loving husband. He died very suddenly, and she was devastated. But then she found out that he'd been like cheating on her with multiple prostitutes and things like that. And so she was so furious and heartbroken and hurt by this that she ate his ashes, his cremated remains. She actually ate his cremated remains. Sorry. It's one of those moments where you got to say, oh, sorry, I've got something in my eye, and sort of look away. But I'm not kidding. It was in the Daily Fail. Must be true. She did. All right. That's enough. That's enough larking around. Yeah, I think so, DJ. Oh, Hugo, look, honestly, Hugo, February, I promise. All right, I'll email you. I've been dithering a lot with this. February, I promise. All right, February. I was thinking about this. I'll make the time to come there. I will make time to come and see you. I will, promise. DJ B2, RDH has not posted since July. It's no wonder. I think he's taking a breather after his court case, which he won hands down. And right, here we go. Sparkacus says, what's the latest with RDH? All right. Well, I don't know if you read my reports on Hapanwo Voice, because I went along to the trial. In terms of the actual arguments and the evidence, he won hands down. He absolutely won hands. Hugo, email me and I'll hold you to it. Yeah. Husband went through the motions. All right. For boom tish. Right. That's enough. I should have kept my mouth shut about that. It's true. But she ate his cremated remains because she was so upset and so yeah, where was that? Yeah, Richard. There's no doubt Richard won the arguments. He in terms of evidence, he won that case hands down. Hibbert really, he didn't have. I'm not sorry. I shouldn't make. I'm not going to make a joke about it. He didn't have any real argument for Richard. In my view, I think Hibbert's case against Richard was weak to non-existence and easily refuted by Richard's barrister. What will the judge do, though? We're talking about the establishment here. What will the judge go with? With the evidence, or does the judge, or has the establishment decided the outcome in advance? All right. So where are we now? I think that's everything in my notes. Hello, Red Snapper. How do you do? How you doing, mate? Any more questions or comments? Keith snorted his dad's ashes. Oh, good grief! Well, that's my fear. It is a show trial, and of course, if it's a show trial, there's only one outcome they have to come to. There's only one possible outcome. Yeah, that's a problem. That's the difficulty, isn't it? This meme is bugging me. I can't find this meme because it's such a good meme. I'm just going to try a few search terms, and maybe that will work. If it doesn't work, then that's it. Okay. I've got too many pictures. That's the thing. Oh. Hang on. I'm getting something. Hang on. I found it. I knew it. This is such a good meme. Here we go. This is such a good meme. Who remembers Shemina Begum? Remember Shemina Begum? This is great. This says it all, doesn't it? If we're going to exile the woman on the left for joining the Islamic State, could we also ban the people on the right from the country for creating the Islamic State? In other words, Hillary Clinton, King, what's his name, and I can't remember his name, the Israeli foreign minister, King Salman al-Bahoud, or whatever his name is. This is true. What if we're going to kick Shemima Begum out of the country because she joined an Islamic State, yet the people who created the Islamic State and made it what it is, these three, no one ever thinks that they've done anything wrong. If it wasn't for these three, there wouldn't be an organization for her to join. I'm glad I found that meme. Where are we now? Right, let's just go through The judge will go with RDH if he supplies a good quality dominatrix. Well, I'm sure Richard will think about it. That's an idea for Richard's defense. What about the alien angle to all this, Diego? Right. I don't know if there is one unless you include the reptilians, which are not really aliens in the sense. I thought he'd won. David, he did win. All right. No, sorry. Sorry, I should have clarified, David. He didn't. There's been no verdict yet. They were expecting one any day now. But he won. I mean, he won the arguments. I mean, there's no doubt about it. I mean, if you were there, if you read my reports. It was him, Martin Hibbert, the claimant, and Richard, the defendant, were like, they put their cases across to the judge in court, and there's absolutely no doubt that Richards was correct. I mean, all the points that were made by the claimant were nullified by Richard's defense. But but the problem is that the judge may be answering to other masters. Yeah. Sparkus, how do you see the Israel versus Palestine-Iran thing playing out? Well, this is one of the reasons I've done this live stream, Sparkus. I don't know. I hope it. I think that there's powerful people in this world who want it to escalate into World War III, as David said here. I suspect that they will do so through to use that to malappropriate that phrase, an October surprise. That's not, of course, the context you use that term in, but I think whatever they do, they've got to get it done before November the 5th. Sparkus, how do you see the Trump-Harris thing playing out? I don't know, Sparkus. It's very confusing at the moment. I mean, this is as Styx Hexenhammer says. This is an election like no other. We've never had this situation where they're talking about taking months to count the votes. We've never had an election where both sides are accusing the other of crimes of malfeasance. We've never had an election where one of the candidates survives 2 assassination attempts in the final months before the election. So I don't know. I know what I hope will happen as I share David's views here. I hope he wins. It's time for him. I hope Trump wins. Very much so. If he doesn't, then we've got the ultimate American girl boss who hates white people and wants white people to be, can't say it on YouTube, who is totally who is not very intelligent, not very inarticulate, and can't and can't. She's useless. The only thing that makes her a viable candidate is she has the entire establishment trying to crowbar her into power, to maneuver her, to I don't know how much I can say on YouTube, to manipulate situations to get her into the White House. David says, did you hear Styx was arrested? Yes, see, he's done a couple of videos explaining exactly what it was like. I thought it might be one of his videos. I thought he's touched a raw nerve. Other people are claiming that he's been suspected of domestic violence. JF Gary Eppy's just done a video about that, and so did Ramsey Paul. I don't know. I mean, he says he does. He says I don't. He's obviously been released. He hasn't been charged. I'm not going to believe that. I know that a lot of people are going to just say, well, he's obviously guilty then, isn't he? And not just feminists, but people, just his rivals within the dissident movement they're going to use this to attack him. And of course, JF Gary Eppy's had his own version of that, hasn't he? And indeed, I did a video. I mean, I was a guest on another video talking about that. But I think that's worrying. The escalation would shoot Donald's campaign, says Niles Lives Matter. I don't think so. I don't think it would. If you remember what Trump did what did Trump do when he won in 2016? He immediately started going around trying to he was the ultimate. He was the biggest peacemaker America has seen in as long ago as 100 years. Yeah. No, that's nice. There's a creepy video of a drunk Styx groping a young woman. I know, and there's a creepy video of me with a string vest on and a massive pot belly, even bigger than mine. Things can be faked these days. Nihilist Lives Matter. All right. And Aeon says, I'm becoming more and more suspicious that the government and those who work for it are encouraging the alien thing into the public consciousness and probably as a means of distraction. Now, that's actually, a lot of people have said that, Aeon. Mark Pilkington, probably being the most principled one, but there's many, many others. It's actually quite a fashionable idea these days. I don't think it's true. However, at the same time, I'm not claiming that everything the government has been, this supposed transparency from the government is everything it appears to be. Oh, nihilist lives matter. Being a peacemaker is exactly why not suit its campaign. Well, as far as I'm concerned, and most people are concerned, as far as the Israeli people are concerned, and indeed the Palestinian people on the ground, the normal people on the ground, yes, it would be the perfect thing for all of them, and indeed the Iranian people. But as far as the political classes go, it will be their worst nightmare come true, which is why they're going to do everything they can to try and stop him. And indeed, they have been. They have been, and they're going to continue to do so. And we've got an entire month from today. It's 1 month from today. We've got to get through. This is what my detox is all about. This is why I'm doing it. It's an affirmation. It's a spell. I'm casting a positive spell through occult means. People think occult means you've got to get out. You've got to get out. Geronimo's skull and cauldrons of blood and things like that, and do the whole Aleister Crowley thing. You got to have sex with the goat on a slab of granite from the Egyptian pyramids. No, you don't have to do all that. The occult is actually anyone can use occult forces and occult powers. It's within the capable of anyone who has the knowledge. And I know that because of a book I've been reading called The Occult, and it is by a guy you've probably heard of called Colin Wilson. Now, you've probably heard of him, but probably what you don't know is he was a hospital porter. And he was, yes. Terminus's. Any trace of the Slaxer character yet? No. As I've explained on a previous video, I went to his house. I went as close to his home as I could. I went to the street where he lives, which is a very small street, actually. It's a cul-de-sac with about 20 addresses. And I knocked on a few doors, and no one has heard of him. I know he lives there, he lived there, but he clearly doesn't live there anymore. In fact, the house I believe he lived in has been demolished, and there's new houses being built. So I'm worried about him. I'm really worried about him. I've been trying to find his ex-partner's social media, but I can't find hers either. I can't find her on social media, so otherwise I'd ask her. I said, have you heard from Dave lately? Because his last post was, as I explained, his last post, he put up a community notice in December. His last upload was over a year ago. And he then put up he put up a happy Christmas message at Christmas, and after that, complete silence. So I'm worried about him. Especially because of his mental state of mind. You can guess what I think has happened, and that scares me because I'm fond of the guy. I know we've fallen out and stuff like that, and I do like him. I know we sort of fell out for a while. He's not someone I could live with. Red Snapper says, someone said to me that I think you mean the other day, they were open to UFOs before 2013, but with the rise of smartphone cameras, they no longer believe. What do you think of that, Ben? I think they're wrong not to believe, because there are the thing about it is, because I know the point I think he's making. If they existed, there'd be photographs of them everywhere and film of them, because we all carry cameras around with us. Well, there is film and footage of UFOs. The problem with the technology, the emergence of the technology to make these images, to capture these images in real life, also comes the technology to produce fake images. And this has reached a level of sophistication which is so incredible that it's literally impossible to tell falsehood from reality. As a result, we now have a massive little boy who cried wolf problem, a huge signal to noise ratio. And so I think somebody is wrong to think that. DJ Beatrice, I like Colin Wilson's Atlantis book, From Atlantis to the Sphinx. Hey, yeah, enjoy what my brother Porter says. Enjoy what my brother Porter teaches you. Always believe a brother Porter. Always believe hospital porters. Always take what they say seriously. Okay, so let's just go through the Wikipedia page. Oh, the pages. The pages. I should mention the pages. There's the Wikipedia page here just talks about like the background. The October 7th, the Israeli bombing of the Iranian embassy, which killed the Quds Force commander Reza Zahidi. Iranian seizure of a ship called MCS Ares. Iranian strikes against Israel, which were repelled by the Iron Dome, most of them. Israeli strikes on Iran in April. Assassination of Ismail Haniyeh and Fuad Shakur. Heightened tensions in, and then of course the attacks on the assassination of Hassan Nasrallah. I discussed this with Rin. And of course, the pages. Oh, yeah. Did you see Uri Geller? Uri Geller put up a post on Twitter. Oh, I don't have to repeat it. It was in my video about it was in a video I did about Iran, but the video I did on Alt Tech. But he put up a tweet claiming that he didn't claim it. He suggested. He says, "What if what happened with the pages was done by someone with special powers? What if it did?" And maybe it was. I'm not. Obviously, these were real explosives they put in these pages. That should be a lesson to anyone who doesn't want to upgrade to new technology. Using pages, honestly, serve them right for being Luddites. I'm kidding. The reason they use pages is because the mobile phones are too easy to trace, whereas old-fashioned pages they don't actually emit anything, and therefore the Hezbollah personnel could go around without being detected. But yeah, they were maybe obviously there were explosives in them, which killed a number of people, injured many others. But also, it could be that they were detonated by Geller and his forces. Could be. Okay. Except when government and military personnel video and photograph them, they're officially released. Well, this is it. I mean, you can't deny there's something there, because it's not just the photographs, because photographs aren't worth the paper they're printed on these days, but the witness testimony. Red Snapper, will you disavow Styx Hexenhammer if these domestic battery rumors are true? Of course I will. Of course. But why prove to be true doesn't mean if his wife says, oh, woe is me, I'm going to turn around, touch my nose 3 times and point to him and say, he did this to me. That's not proof. That's what feminists call proof. As somebody I know, who I won't name, who is a social worker, has told me that in her job, the feminists who are very prevalent in social service, they call an accusation of domestic violence a disclosure, when it's actually not a disclosure. It is an accusation, yet it's treated as, because the woman says it must be true. Believe the woman. And that's not proof. All right, so yeah. Rihanna says, I wouldn't say don't be open to UFOs existing, but be cautious about alleged images of them. Similarly, just because I'm suspicious of the government encouraging belief in UFOs, don't mean they don't exist. Well, yeah, up to a point, Rihanna, and I am. I agree up to a point, because we all remember Richard Doty and his. It could be all up to. We'll remember Richard Doty and what he did. There is disinformation. The government put disinformation into the UFO world. It's just not what a lot of people claim it is. I mean, people like Mark Pilkington and the backslappers keep saying, well, it's essentially a piece of engineered neo-mythology that they've created to launder these down-to-earth, more down-to-earth government secrets, when in fact, what they're claiming is that the government want to draw your attention towards something with the ultimate objective of deflecting it away, which is nonsense. It's like a bank robber robbing a bank, and he thinks to himself, what am I going to do? Maybe I should just bury this money in the woods where no one will find it and wait for the heat to die down. So I'll just bury it under a tree, and I'll make a note of where the tree is privately, but I won't tell anyone where it is. That sounds to me like the sensible thing to do. What the backslappers are saying is, no, what the best way for a bank robber to get away with what he's done and to hide his money is to bury it where everyone can see it, and then put on a tutu and a pink basque and orange lipstick, and then jump up and down on top of his on top of his buried money. And then every time a policeman walks past, say, "Mr. Policeman, over here. Hello. What? Look this way. All right. There's no buried money from a bank robbery here. Just unicorn bones. Okay." Which of those two plans sounds like the most sensible to you? DJ Beater. Yeah. When it comes to this sort of thing, when white men are in these situations where they're accused of any kind of battery against a marginalized minority, it's so politicized you can never ever. It's very, very difficult to get justice. Oh, Uri Geller, yes, Uri Geller actually has an implant. Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah. The court case will show. DJ, according to Styx, it's not going to go. He won't say what it is. He says he can't talk about it for legal reasons. But he says it won't go to court. He's not even been charged. He's been released at the moment. He'll probably get NFA'd if there's nothing to it. Rhiannon, anything from a government or ex-government official is a press release and not a disclosure. Disclosure is the most misused word in the modern world. Yeah. Maybe you're familiar with the social services situation, Rhiannon, because maybe you know people who are involved in social services. But this word disclosure they use when it refers to domestic violence, in a sense, it's interesting they use the same word, don't they, as ufology. Because there's all kinds of there's willing disclosure and there's partial disclosure and there's fake disclosure. There's I can't believe it's not disclosure. There's disclosure light. Yeah. So again, what Lou Elizondo has done is not disclosure, because people have said, well, this is disclosure. Everything you write, if everything he's put in his book is true, that's disclosure. Yes, if it's true, and Elizondo swears it's true, and I've unlike many people, I don't go along with this. I know it's very trendy to be anti-Elizondo. It makes you cool. It makes you hip. It makes you a good, honest backslapper. I'm happy to be a square in this situation. I've got no reason. I personally have seen no reason to distrust Lou Elizondo at this point. What I think he's done, he's written a book full of information that might be true, but the tantalizing thing is that he can't provide evidence for this. Because he is reporting something for which there is no evidence, because the evidence exists behind this wall of secrecy, of which he is talking about. He's relating stories from behind that wall. But until the evidence is brought forward, he can't be vindicated or discredited. Red Snapper, does domestic discord have to be violence? If you're a white man, yes, in today's world. Devil's advocate is that it's young girls not being taken seriously in northern towns. You're talking about the grooming scandal, which is the grooming gangs, which is horrific, and it hardly needs reiterating here. Yeah, and the cover up associated with it. Yeah. Okay. Well, it appears that U.S. military has been dragged kicking and screaming to admit. I think there are good people, there are honest people in the establishment now who are taking over. I mean, I think it's all to do with this, I can't actually say it here on YouTube, but it's all to do with this letter of the alphabet that comes after the 16th one and before the 18th one. I think it's real, and I think that force is gaining power. It hasn't gone away. It's actually gaining power. Explore Norfolk. Hello, Explore Norfolk. That's a good name. Are there baby Yodas in Norfolk? It's a means and justification to create an organisation, mostly headed by desk-bound, should-be retired officers, while reaching for funding. Oh, dear me. Who'd be a policeman? I couldn't be a police. I mean, I couldn't be a policeman. I couldn't even, in the end of the day, be a hospital porter. I mean, let's face it. I mean, if I hadn't been kicked out for what I had been kicked out in 2012, I'd have been kicked out for something else, wouldn't I? I'd have been kicked out because I'm one of these annoying people who are seen as weak kind of obscurantists by the majority of others. But I believe in principles. I do things because I'm motivated by principles. Red Snapper says, "I've never heard of spiritual abuse. What's that? Is that what happened to you?" In a way, yeah. I think everything is spiritual in the long run. The wars, there is a geopolitical agenda which is engineering this war in the Middle East, but it wouldn't have happened if there hadn't been a chakra point in the Holy Land. The reason it's the Holy Land, the reason this is the place where Moses took his people, the reason this is the place where Abraham founded his faith, the reason this is the place where Jesus was born, and the reason this is the place where the second holiest site in Islam is, Jerusalem. It's not a coincidence that so much spiritual attention is focused on that area. Leon says, "I love by the way he says women in his whiny feminist voice." I'm glad it cheers you up. This is a reply to Hugo Roon said, "I don't trust Israel." And David says, "I trust Israel more than I trust Iran." I don't trust either of them. I don't trust Israel or Iran. I like Styx's takes, says Nihilist Lives Matter, but not extending that to his private life without question. I like his takes too. I think I like his videos. I've got no reason right now to think he's done anything wrong. And if the police have released him, they're presumably investigating him. Eventually, they will charge him and prosecute him if he's done. If there's reason, if it's in the public interest or there is an evidence for him doing something wrong. Rhiannon. Has Elizondo ever had any of his neighbours whom he alleges also experienced the glowing orbs to come forward and testify that they also experienced this phenomenon? Good question, because he actually reports in the book that these things appeared in his home. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I couldn't be a copper. I've got the tattoos in the brain. Hello, CCG. How you doing? So, Rhiannon, that's a good question. And there's nothing in the book about his neighbours. Because he lived on this little island, he said. He had this house on this little island. And there was quite a small community he lived in. Looks like a little village. I've actually looked at it on the map. It's a little village. Oh, David, we've actually been through this. Firstly, I mean, I know that a lot of the deaths in Gaza have come from collateral damage, but I'm not convinced that Israel is not deliberately targeting them. I'm not convinced. What will UK's role be in this war, says Diego Rivera? Anything the Yanks tell us to. And the Yanks, of course, are controlled by the Illuminati. Of course, Britain's controlled by the Illuminati. So at a higher level, the Yanks are doing what the Brits tell them. It's a rather incestuous circle of power. Red Snapper, do you remember your Megtow video under that bridge? Are you going to do another video like that? Oh, yes, that's turned out to be one of my most successful videos. And indeed, it's one I really like. I really enjoyed making that video, and I really liked it, and people have liked it. Unless I think of something else to say about it, I won't, because I think I've covered it all. But unless more information comes to light and I have reason to expand on that, I don't know. A spoiler alert, it's called Am I a Megtow? Spoiler alert, I'm not a Megtow. I don't like Megtows. I think they are miserable. Oh, Rhiannon says was that what? The Megtow video was the first of Ben's videos I ever saw. Really? Oh, cool. I didn't know that, Rhiannon. That's great. I really enjoyed that video. No, I'm not a Megtow. I don't. Megtows are very depressing to listen to, as I explained in the video. I don't like them. I think they are miserable, nihilistic, and very defeatist individuals. They really get on my nerves. I feel awful just listening to I occasionally do watch a couple of them, like the Happy Humble Hermit or Sandman Megtow or Megtown, and the Mayor of Megtown he's called now. And I come away feeling really depressed whenever I listen to them. How it feels to be them, I can't imagine thinking those thoughts, thinking those horrible thoughts. It's like, I mean, they have such a. I mean, I'm frustrated with feminism. I'm frustrated with feminism. I'm frustrated about what it's done to the female mind and to women's group psychology and culture. But the Megtows have this dark, cynical, misanthropic vision of womanhood that is so extreme that it takes my breath away. 1 for sorrow, 2 for joy, Megtow. No, 1 for sorrow, 2 for sorrow if you're on Megtow. Red Snapper, you said you had more sympathy for them in the video. I do sympathise with them because I think I know why they think as they do. I sympathise with them because I know that I know why they think as they do, because there's been times in my life where I've found myself slipping into that kind of mindset, and it's horrible, and it's false, it's wrong. I realised I'd made a mistake before it was too late. Oh, Rihanna said the bit where he says he couldn't sit in a pub on a date with a woman and say he's into the Lizard Kings and Illuminati. Yeah, that's it. That'd be a bit of a deal breaker, wouldn't it? I think when it comes to dating. Would you say MGTOWs are the polar opposite of militant feminists? Only in the sense that they are essentially kind of almost like there's almost a horseshoe effect here, David, because when you get to the polar opposite of militant feminists, you find essentially the very, very same kind of anger and cynicism and self-deception and misanthropy and cynicism and darkness as you do among radical feminists. The only difference is it is for the opposite sex. So the flip side of feminists, yeah, exactly, yeah. You first saw me on Edge Media. Oh, my Sparkicus. You first saw me on Edge Media with Theo Chalmers. Oh my goodness. That was at the AV3. My goodness me. What nostalgia. DJ. There's a better version of MGTOW called Redonkulous. I don't know that one. I don't know him more. I assume it's a him. John Fuse. It was the Bexley Heath video you first saw me in. Oh, that's the one. I actually went there. Yeah, where there was actually possibly a UFO landing there in 1955. Yeah, it was August the 5th, 1955. I remember. Oh yeah, my experience with sewer stain. Yeah, sewer stains. Rihanna, MGTOW is just the mirror image of feminism. Yeah. Both are born of inability to get over personal negative experiences with the other sex and not project one's own experiences onto everyone else. Precisely. That's a very succinct way of putting it in a single sentence, yeah. Oh, this is what it stands for. My granddad's too old, wanker. That's another thing it could stand for, yeah. It's called opting out. It stands for men going their own way, which is ironically is not what it is, because if they really wanted to go their own way, why don't they just do it? Why don't they just become men going their own way? But they don't. These men are not going their own way. These men are sitting in a circle, weeping into their laps, whinging and moaning about women. That's not going your own way. Diego Rivera, have you still not filled out your census, Ben? No, I have not, believe it or not. Yeah. And as Liana says, feminists also opt out. Yeah, a lot of them they refuse to date men. Some of them become political lesbians, which, even though, I mean, it's really weird, because if I watched a documentary about it once. They had to like force themselves to have sex with other women when it's not their kind of thing. They had to admit, look, I'm still attracted to men, and they said, we can cure you of that, and they do. They call themselves political lesbians. There's several women, I think, who claim to be lesbians or actually not. Maybe Julie Bindel is one of these, because it's just it's the way she looked at Sargon. I think, there was a little bit of flirting there, I think. They just say they are because they're essentially female MGTOWs, yeah. CCG, being embittered is hardly becoming of a man. It's not. It's a soul destroying thing. And it's not always possible to avoid it completely, but do your best to keep it to a minimum. Do everything you can to try and minimize it in your life. Any more questions or comments, guys? I think we've exhausted the topic for now, although there may be an update because it could go one way or the other. But I see before the end of the month, something's going to happen. Something will happen. I pray for Trump's safety. I pray for peace and safety. I pray that the bombings will stop and that the kidnappings will stop. The hostages will be brought home, and that the Iranians will kick out. One thing I agree with Maya Tusi on. I hope that the Iranians or someone deposes the Islamic Republic because it's a complete creation of the CIA and the West. This is something the Maya doesn't understand, and it's fulfilling the New World Order. So kick out the bloody Ayatollahs and bring back the democracy there. And, because there's one guy. There's this Reason TV documentary channel. He said that Iran used to be a wonderful place. People used to go on holiday there. It's a beautiful. It has beauty. It has a natural beauty. It has grand cities and history and good food. It has in the summer there are beautiful sunny beaches where you can which could rival Marbella in Ibiza. In winter there you can go skiing in the mountains. It's got everything. What's holding it back is the oppressive regime, which is being propped up by international intelligence and the international military. Yeah, Rhiannon. I wonder if the aliens will step in and stop any nuclear weapons being fired. I bloody hope so. I bloody hope so. But I don't think we should bank on it. I mean, they did. There's that thing with Bob Jacobs where they shot down a missile, but the missile they shot down wasn't. It wasn't a nuclear. It was a test. They were planning to nuke the moon. They were actually planning to This is insane. They were planning to detonate a huge nuclear weapon on the moon. They were even planning to make it big enough so a new crater would be created, and they were going to name it after somebody. Oh God, they're nutcases, absolute nutcases. No, this lives matter. Most people aren't compatible with democracy. Yeah. Well, yeah. That's a different subject, but maybe some kind of maybe we need something new. Maybe we need a fourth positional thing, like Alexander Dugin talks about. All right, so I think Spartacus sums up my thought here. Spare a thought for all the innocent Palestinians and Israelis who are suffering. Precisely. Those are wise words, because too often in this particular conflict we're partisan. The moment you offer any kind of sympathy for the Israelis, everything is so polarized, you will immediately be accused. You hate Palestinians and you want all the Palestinian babies to die. Well, conversely, if you express any sympathy for the Palestinian babies who have died, they'll say, you're an anti-Semite. You want to finish the job of Adolf Hitler. For goodness sake, stop this polarization and just listen to the wise words of Spartacus here. Nihilist lives matter. Yeah, Nuke the Moon was the name of the documentary, yes. And someone asked me a good question. Where was it? Red Snapper. Oh, I've landed on it. Have you read the Songs of Distant Earth? Yes, I have. It is a fantastic novel by Arthur C. Clarke. I think it's one of his finest. And I don't really want to say too much about it, Red Snapper, simply because I couldn't do it credit. Maybe it's a good idea for a read party. I think it's brilliant. It's based on like a novella Clarke wrote many years ago, but he adapted it. He added some more elements and he adapted it into a full-length novel. CCG. Maybe they just wanted to put this giant crater exactly where the Apollo landing sites was supposedly. Oh, Red Snapper, you just bought it. Oh, good, Red Snapper. It's brilliant. It's a fantastic story. It really is. I mean, you could read don't read the novella. Read the novel first before the novella, I would say. Clarke wrote the novella sometime in the 60s, I think, but then he adapted it into a novel in the 80s. And unlike the ones he co-authored with other people, he did this himself, because his collaborations are utterly awful. I saw this massive, great big book called Cradle. And I thought, this is going to be fantastic because it's by Arthur C. Clarke. But then I looked in smaller letters underneath. It says with Gentry Lee, who's like a NASA scientist. And I read the book, and it was trash. It was long, drawn out, populist, sensationalist, padded, nonsense. And I thought, this isn't Arthur C. Clarke. And I realized that when I realized the stars, I realized that Clarke had only written like the chapter heading, the chapter entry bits, the like italic bits, the chapter entries, and then generally he had written all the rest. He's an awful writer. Yeah. Just to say drivel. He's drivel, yeah. Is it your favourite of Clarke's? No, the best Arthur C. Clarke book, I think, has to be Fountains of Paradise. I went through a phase, like in my teens, when I was Clarke mad. That Fountains of Paradise was fantastic. It was brilliant. Yeah. And Rhiannon says, Arthur C. Clarke's Mysterious World is what got me into the woo-woo at the age of 5. You know, Rhiannon, it got me into, I mean, I wouldn't say it got me into it as such, but because I don't actually remember that part of my life very well, but I was about the same age as you, and I remember watching it and being enthralled by it. And I know they're all on YouTube. You can watch them on YouTube. They're brilliant. They're brilliant. I've watched them all again since then. And it was fantastic, David. It was fantastic. I'm going to leave it now, guys. I think we've covered everything we can at this point in this because this is an ongoing saga. I'll check the Big Black Cock once more just to see what it's saying, because there may be an update while I've been on the air. So, here we go. A large explosion has been seen in Beirut after the Israeli military warned people in the southern suburb to evacuate. Okay, right. This is remember that big explosion in that warehouse, that accidental explosion. But this is obviously, oh blimey, this is obviously a missile or a bomb from an aircraft. Well, I just hope no one was hurt in this, or like, I hope no one was hurt in this. I mean, if the Israelis really did tell them to evacuate, I mean, I hope they did, but I say I'm not convinced by a lot of Israeli propaganda. And we've seen that. Okay, so that's the latest developments, guys. And this is Laura Kunzberger. What's she got to say? Why the war in the Middle East involves the UK more than you might think. Oh, my God. Let's be real. War has started. Yeah. It has. I mean, how far? Oh, get away, you bloody horrible creep. UK military backup. All right. Oh, dear. The UK military was there as backup to help Israel defend itself against these Iranian missiles. RAF Typhoons were in the air on Tuesday night, ready to support Israel's own defences. Yeah, other countries were like Jordan. In the end, the UK didn't fire any of their weapons. In April, they shot down Iranian drones. Well, that's a start. I mean, you could say, well, that's a non-offensive, non-aggressive intervention. But of course, that's how the Vietnam War started. The Vietnam War started with advisors. Yeah. The Mysteries of the Unexplained cards. Oh, they were good. And there's Unexplained magazine. Yeah. Yeah, that's Arthur. Despite the fact he wrote very good books, he was a pretty horrible person himself. Arthur C. Clarke. You're welcome, CCG. Welcome. You're welcome. Nice of Israel to warn them first, says David. If they did, yes. But we've got the Big Black Cock's word for that, and I don't trust a Big Black Cock. Well, certainly not the Big Black Cock. Rhiannon Raven, thank you very much. Everyone, yeah, thank you, Rhiannon. Conscription is a big thing on both sides. Yeah, the thing about conscription is there's lots of problems with it. Firstly, in terms of the actual effectiveness as a fighting force, Western militaries have been depleted enormously, as I've explained before. The Americans, they can only deploy 2 aircraft carriers. All the others are in dry dock. Britain only has 7 working warships in the Royal Navy. And if to add a number of people who don't want to be there and fill the ranks with people who really don't want to be there, and the moment any shooting breaks out, they're just going to go and hide behind a tree like they did in Vietnam. Conscripts make bad soldiers, the same way that agency workers make bad hospital porters. And what's more, the people don't want it. No. What was it that Joseph Goebbels said? Why should some slob on a farm support the idea of being sent off to fight a war when the best he can hope for is to come back from that war in one piece? Of course, the people don't want conscription. But how does the rest of the quote go, guys? You know how the rest of the quote goes. The quote from Goebbels goes, don't you? The Nazi propaganda minister. The people can be always brought to heel. Just convince them they are being attacked, and explain that even if it's not true, explain. This is not an exact quote. Even if it is not true, just convince them they are being attacked and that the source of their attackers are the very people you want to go to war against. And that's what I said at the beginning. Something might happen. Something may well happen this month to create that very condition. DJ B2, Vietnam had conscription. It did indeed, and it was a complete disaster. It was an utter disaster. Like I said, people were just basically turning up. They weren't even taking their weapons out on patrol. And the moment any shooting started, they just run away and hide behind a tree. And they'd come out later and say, "Is it all over now? All right, then." And of course, this puts their fellow soldiers, the professional soldiers, the ones who were fighting, this puts them in horrific danger. David, pederasty. Is it legal in Sri Lanka? Is that true? Disgusting. If that's true, then shame on them. Oh, CCG, I was an agency port and I was shit. Oh, well, it's not your fault, CCG. If you really wanted to do well and you wanted a contract, I'm sorry you didn't give one. Got one. Pride and dignity, brother Porter. Jeff Hindley, what have I missed? Everything. Watch the recording, Jeff. But welcome anyway. So that's it, guys. Thank you very much for joining this live stream. Much appreciated. There will be another video coming soon. I'm actually planning one for Monday. Whether I'll actually upload it then or finish it then, I'm not sure. But I'm going to do some filming on Monday, and I think you'll like it. It's an interesting one, completely different subject to the one I'm discussing tonight. But of course, there could be developments. As I said, it's October now. Something may well happen between now and November the 5th. Something might happen between now and November the 5th. And if it does, of course, I will report on it. Thanks, Jeff. Thanks, mate. I hope you enjoy it. Anyway, guys, thank you all for watching Panwo TV. See you again very soon. Get a green screen, Ben. Yeah. Hospital Port is pride and dignity. Stop the New World Order.